What's up, BookTube? Welcome back. My name is Laura if you're new here, and today I'm talking about all of the sequels coming out in 2022 that I'm looking forward to. So every month I do a video where I talk about new releases for that upcoming month, but I never talk about the sequels that are coming out for that month. So I thought I would do a video to go over all of the sequels that are coming out for this year that I am very much looking forward to. So yeah, that is what we are doing today, so let's just get started right away on the books. Now, given that I'm doing this video in February, a few of these have already come out, but I will start with the one that I don't actually have a release date for, and that one is Cosmoknights Book 2 by Hannah Templar. This is a very queer sci-fi graphic novel. I read book 1 last year and really enjoyed it. It was such a good time. I'm pretty sure the chapters get updated pretty frequently for this one, but the actual bind up of the book isn't being released until sometime this year. I think the website says summertime, but there's no actual set release date for it, so I have no idea. But this is such a sweet graphic novel. There's mecha robot suits involved, and this really hot couple who has one of these mecha robot fighting suits. They're disguised as men, and they go to these competitions, or if your robot beats the rest of them, then you get to win the hand of a princess against her will, most likely. And so the couple goes and saves these princesses from unwanted marriages. So it's really cool. It's a great concept. There's obviously way more to it than that, but that's just kind of the gist of it. I love this series. It's such a good time, and I cannot wait for book 2. On January 4th, Where the Drowned Girls Go by McGuire came out. This is the 7th book in the Women Children series, which we all know is my favorite series of all time. I have already read this one and I loved it. It was fantastic. This series as a whole takes place at a school for children who had, as kids, they found a door to a different portal universe, and they went through the door and they found their home, the place where they're meant to be, but for some reason or other they had to come back to our world, and now they have no idea how to cope. But there is actually a second school that gets briefly mentioned a few times as being the evil school kind of thing, and in this book the main character asks to be transferred to that school instead, and then things go from there. It was such a fun time. This is definitely one of the strongest books in this series. It was so good. I loved all the more dark, sinister kind of things to it. I loved the characters. It was just overall fantastic, and yeah, it was really good. So I love this series as a whole, but this one especially was friggin' amazing. I love it. And then on February 1st, Court by Tracy Wolff came out. This is book 4 in the Crave series. Now, I have only read book 1 in this series so far, so I can't really say that I'm looking forward to this book specifically because I haven't even read book 2 or 3 yet, but doesn't matter. I'm still looking forward to it. I think also book 5 is coming out in May, I want to say. But either way, this series is such a good time. The first book was, honest to God, a riot. I laughed so hard the entire way through. It's about a girl whose parents have just passed away in a car accident, and she's sent to go live with her uncle, who is the headmaster of this really prestigious elite boarding school in the middle of Alaska for some reason. So she goes there having no idea what she's in store for, and soon learns that the school is not what it seems. It's such a fun series. I just really enjoyed the first book. It is not meant to be taken seriously at all. I have heard that the next books in the series take on a bit of a more serious tone, and it's not quite as fun and lighthearted as book 1 is, but I'm still going to enjoy it regardless, so I can't wait for this one as well. On February 25th, A Veil of Stardust and Savagery by Analeigh is coming out. This is book 2 in the Veiled Realm series. I just read book 1 last week and I really enjoyed it. It's a self-published fairy romance with a reverse harem. This is a new adult series, so there is some spicy scenes to it. Hopefully more of them in book 2, because there was not enough in book 1. It's about a girl who was born fairy marked, so she has some kind of curse on her, and near her 21st birthday the fairy princes come and take her to the fairy realm because they need her for something that I won't say. But yeah, the first book was a really fun time. It was just, again, very silly and kind of lighthearted. I was not at all taking it seriously. This is mostly romance forward rather than plot forward, which is exactly what I hoped it would be, so I'm hoping book 2 will be just as good. On May 17th, From Bad to Curse by Lana Harper is coming out. This one is the sequel to Payback's a Witch, which I read last year around Halloween and really enjoyed. It was a great time. It's a contemporary adult romance with a witchy twist to it. It takes place in this town called Thistle Grove that is full of magic. There are 4 families of witches who live here, and they keep the magic of the town alive, and of course they're all rivals. The first book was sapphic. I'm not sure what book 2 is. I really have no idea who it takes place on. This one is going to be a series of companion novels, so I doubt that you'd have to read book book 1 in order to get book 2, but either way it's still kind of a sequel. Like, they're just kind of like set in the same world sort of thing. But yeah, I loved book 1. The writing is fantastic. I've read pretty much everything by this author aside from one book, so I would love to just keep up with her books and like always be reading them because I love her writing style. They're fantastic and her characters are just wonderful as well. On May 24th, we've got Second Spear by Kerstin Hall. This is book 2 in the McCallus cycle. Book 1 was called The Border Keeper, which I read with Roxanne over at Roxanne Can Read for a reading challenge that we did together. Book 1 was confusing as hell. It's a portal fantasy and the genre on Goodreads is listed as new weird, and it was definitely weird. It's about a man who travels across the desert to find somebody who is called the Border Keeper, and she's the one who kind of guards the gate between our world and the like 900 realms of the spirit world. So he goes to her to try and get her to take him into the spirit realm to try and bring somebody back. This book was such a strange book. I'm still not really sure what actually happened in it. I think I know, but I could be totally off. It was very confusing and like kind of hard to follow, but not really in a bad way. I don't know how that makes sense, but like I enjoyed being confused by this book. I was just very much along for the ride. I was just kind of figuring things out as I went. But yeah, it was a great time and I'm looking forward to book 2. On June 7th, we've got Not Your Hero by C.B. Lee. This is the 4th book in the Sidekick Squad series, which follows a group of teenagers who are living in a world after World War III kind of destroyed everything, and the nuclear effects of that have made some people be born with superpowers. And these 4 friends have realized that the like superhero government thing has some shady things happening on the side, and they are trying to figure out what's going on and take down the government. It's a really fun series. It's such a good time. So far, I've just read books 1 and 2. I'm hoping to get to book 3 very shortly. But for these ones, they're not like the best thing to ever be written, but they're still very enjoyable, and I would definitely recommend them for like a really quick, kind of like lighthearted sci-fi read. On June 14th, we've got Amira Mended by Alix Harrow coming out. This is book 2 in the Fractured Fables series. The first book being A Spindle Splintered. I'm not really sure what's going to happen in book 2, but book 1 at least follows a main character who is dying. She has some kind of rare disease, and nobody has ever lived past the age of 21 who has this disease. And on her 21st birthday, her best friend throws her a Sleeping Beauty themed birthday party, and when she goes to prick her finger on the spindle, she is thrown into some kind of multiverse of Sleeping Beauties, and she finds a whole bunch of other cursed people like her. Things go from there. It was such a weird story. It is not at all where I thought it was going to go, but I am so happy about it. This book might not be for everybody, but in terms of my own personal preferences, it had so many tropes that I freaking love. It had a found family, portal fantasy, multiverse, fairy tales, it was queer, like it just had so many things that were perfectly suited for me. So I loved this book and I can't wait to see where book 2 takes us. Coming out on June 21st is This Wicked Fate by Kalynn Bayron. This is the sequel to This Poison Heart, which I'm currently reading. I'm about halfway through at the time of filming, and so far it is fantastic. This one follows a girl who was born with the ability to make flowers grow. She can't really control this power, and sometimes bad things happen when, you know, the trees uproot themselves because they want her attention. But one day she learns that her birth mother's sister has passed away and left her a really massive, sprawling estate in upstate New York. And she and her moms go out there for the summer to check it out and kind of see what's going on. And when they get there, they find an apothecary and learn that she maybe comes from a family of witches. I can already tell that I'm going to love this book, and I already can't wait for book 2. On July 12th comes my second most anticipated read of the year, which is A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers. This is book 2 in the Monk and Robot series. The first book was A Song for the Wild Build, and if you watched my top 10 books of last year, it was my #1 read of the year. I loved that book so much. This is a really interesting book that's kind of hard to explain. There's like a lot to it for being a really short novella, but it's set in a world where like robots had gained sentience and they didn't want to be in service of humans anymore. So the humans gave the robots half the planet and told them to just go off and, you know, go be free, do whatever they wanted to. So all of the robots left, and it's been hundreds of years since anybody has seen them. And then our main character is a tea monk. They travel around to different villages and set up a little tea shop for people to come and just have a few moments to kind of vent out their frustrations and talk about what's wrong in their lives and feel better for a little while. But the main character is restless and bored with their life, so they decide to go into the robot wilderness, and there they meet a robot, and the two of them become friends and things go from there. This book is really about like life and purpose and the meaning of life and all that kind of thing. I felt so seen in reading this book. I relate to the main character so much, and I just loved every second of it, so I can't wait for book 2. I'm so excited. Coming Coming out on September 20th is Well Traveled by DeLuca. This is the 4th book in the Well Met series, which is a adult contemporary romance series of companion novels that take place surrounding this Renaissance fair in a small town somewhere in America. This series isn't like my favorite thing ever. I'm not like obsessed with this series. It's like a solid 3-star series for me, but they're good enough that I keep reading them because like they are really fun and they're also very quick reads too. Book 2 I did not like because it was a catfishing trope and I am not about that, but books 1 and 3 were really good, so I'm looking forward to book 4 as well and to kind of see where things go. I have no clue what's going to happen in it. I haven't read the synopsis and I don't really want to be honest. I just kind of want to go into it and just see what happens. On October 25th, Into the Riverlands by Nghi is coming out. This is the 3rd book in the Singing Hills cycle series. This one follows our main character who is a wandering cleric, and they travel around and document stories from all over the place of all the different like myths and legends of their area. Honestly, I could not tell you what happens for the plots in books 1 and 2. I do find the plots very hard to follow because there's like just so much happening, but these ones I read over audiobook. The storytelling is just so fantastic that for me this series is more of just an experience. Like I love to just sit down and just listen to the story be told because it's just so beautifully written and the story is so well told. It's just really nice to listen to. So I would definitely recommend this series for audiobook. But yeah, still not a clue what really happens in the books, but they're just so nice to listen to that I still really love them. And finally on the 1st of November is Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare, which is the 3rd book in the Last Hours trilogy. This is the 1st book. This one takes place in the Shadowhunter world, but it follows the children of the characters from the Infernal Devices. I still haven't read book 2 yet, but I definitely will before book 3 comes out.
Sorry for the very abrupt change in everything, but my camera battery just died when I literally had about 2.5 minutes of filming left, and I don't have the patience to like sit there and wait like an hour and a half for it to charge, so I'm just going to film the last little bit of this video on my phone, so sorry about that. But anyway, I was talking about Chain of Thorns, I think it's called, the 3rd book in this series. I'm not sure where I left off there, but I was probably just saying that I like surprisingly really enjoyed Chain of Gold. So yeah, Chain of Thorns coming out in November. Surprisingly looking forward to it. I don't know who I am that I'm like actually looking forward to books from this author again, but here we are. So yeah, those are all of the sequels that I'm looking forward to that are coming out for this year. I'm so mad at my camera battery for dying like at literally the worst possible time. Like, come on, 2 minutes of filming left and you couldn't just hang on for that long? Little bitch. But anyways, let me know if you have any sequels coming out this year that you're looking forward to. I would love to hear your thoughts. But in the meantime, that'll do it for today's video. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!